Hello and welcome. This is Raj Narayan for CXO today. Today our guest is Anirban Ghosh. Mr. Ghosh has diverse experience ranging from heading a corporation in the United States to leadership experience in strategy and sales, marketing, corporate social responsibility, and sustainability. He is the Chief Sustainability Officer at Mahindra. In this role, he enables companies in the Mahindra Group to adopt a new path to sustainability in a world where climate change is a reality. Welcome, sir. Welcome to the show. And thanks for sparing your time and being with us.
Welcome. Pleasure's mine.
Thank you, sir. So my first question would be, now we are in a stage where the pandemic has run through its course, or at least it is running through its course. We still don't know where the end is, but then I'm hearing that there are green shoots appearing in the economy. Things could change sooner than later. So, and having said that, what would you say about the economy from your perspective? Where do you see India going from here? And I'm not even referring to the sales figures or the GDP figures for the last 3 months, because we all know that it was supposed to be down. So where do you see India going from here?
And there is no doubt that we will claw back to where we were before. The question is, how long will it take?
Mm-hmm.
The other question is, what will we learn from this experience? And will we do anything differently going forward?
Yeah.
Or will we just forget about everything that happened and take it as a bad dream and go forward like we were going forward?
Yeah.
The answers are up in the air. Let's see how it plays out.
Okay. So, in your mind, what would be the key takeaways that, as an individual and maybe as an enterprise, be from this pandemic, which none of us has experienced before?
So, what we have not experienced before is disruption of this large scale.
Mm-hmm.
No war has disrupted in the manner it is disrupted now. No epidemic of any kind or previous pandemics have disrupted the world the way this has disrupted the world. I wasn't there during the Spanish flu, so I don't know comment. However, in a perverse sort of a way, we might even have been lucky. Lucky in the sense that the virus, which spread so easily, was not terribly fatal.
Yeah.
Imagine a situation where you have a rapidly spreading vermin of some kind, germ of some kind, which also causes fatality, just like the Ebola does.
Yeah.
We would be in real trouble. And I'm mentioning this because to believe that a virus of some kind is not going to disrupt again in the future is not the right belief to have. There are enough people who've been talking about it. There are enough reasons why this is a possibility. This is one thing that we have to keep in mind, that we must be careful of not causing another disruption of this kind.
Yeah.
Extending this thought from a very conceptual perspective, a lot of this happens because we tend to kind of interfere with the way nature works. In this particular case, we go deep into the animal kingdom, eat whatever we want to eat, and so on. But there are other things that are developing. For example, I'm hearing that as the ice melts because of climate change, there are viruses trapped deep down below, which had caused disruptions of this kind many, many, many years ago, which might get released again. Now, we obviously are not immune to those viruses. We are being warned that as we go about destroying forests, many viruses which live in the plant and animal kingdom may jump over to human beings. This almost always happens whenever I'm on a call. So I put the phone on silent. Okay. Um, so these are things that are developing, and we've got to be careful that we don't take nature for granted, and we develop within the boundaries of nature. These are surely lessons we should take away. Businesses will want to make sure that an old lesson is never forgotten again, which is conserve cash, right? Because you don't know when a disruption is coming, so you must decide how much cash should you definitely conserve if you have the opportunity to do it. If you can't, well, I don't know what to say.
Yeah. So in the latter part, I mean, I understand the former very well, because for a long time, I think all of us were looking the other way when conservation was being talked about. The cash part. Now, if I step over to the small and medium enterprises, those are the chaps who seem to be struggling the most with challenges with cash flows. Government has come out with some schemes of extending the line of credit. Having said that, that probably would only take them thus far, as in assuming that the business that they are in still has relevance post the pandemic. I was just reading Samsung say that they are looking to become a lifestyle brand now. I was just reading the article of a senior person in Samsung Korea saying that smartphones and other things, yes, they can be on one side. How can we make our home smart, our appliances smart? How can we consume lesser electricity? So these are the things Samsung is today talking about, just today actually. Now, from that point of view, where do you think the SMEs can go from here? Because like we were talking offline, can they pivot or do they want to pivot into something different? I mean, can they morph into something else from what they're doing now? If so, what needs to be done? Government level and private level, of course.
Pivoting from one business to another business is not an easy business.
Yeah.
Before COVID happened, if you talked to wise people in strategy and strategic planning and so on, they would talk to you about core competence, about being close to the knitting and so on. And they would warn you about unrelated diversification.
Yeah.
But we are in a situation now where the fear is that certain kinds of businesses may not be relevant anymore.
Yeah.
I don't know how much this will play out, but whoever suffers because of this will really have to pivot.
Yeah.
I know a lot of businesses which depend on human contact or face-to-face interaction, even for generating business, have a challenge on their hands. And entrepreneurs would need to have a source of revenue and figure out what else can they possibly do, what value can they possibly add. It would be futile to try and suggest solutions, especially if there are people listening who are going through this pain today, because they might find those solutions very trite.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of it has to do on what the business, the entrepreneur can do if he's not doing what he was doing before.
Mm-hmm.
So it is a difficult question, and I hope that not too many people experience that situation.
Okay. So in terms of investments, now the only way that we can look at future growth or any sort of growth coming in would be through investments. Now, generally what happens in such a situation is pretty much every person looks up to the government and says, what can the government do for me? And obviously any government of its day at that point can only do that much. So
no government has ever done too much.
Yes.
They can't. If they do, they interfere in capitalism, which you and I don't want.
Yes.
They can make money available, and I think the current dispensation has made enough money available.
Mm-hmm.
and the finance minister scolds the banks to make more money available.
Yeah.
But availability of money doesn't seem to be the problem. I mean, if
Mm-hmm.
you were to give an entrepreneur $1 million today, he would need to have something to do with it so
Yeah.
that he would be able to pay back the money.
Yeah.
So businesses which are unable to generate demand today,
Mm.
taking on loans may not be the brightest idea.
Yeah. So,
So,
yeah, I'm sorry, go ahead.
no, please carry on.
So now, if that being the case, now how do you sort of go about creating this? I mean, recreating, or I don't know how to say it, restarting the innovation approach after such a, I mean, a 6 month long delay where suddenly everything seems to have collapsed.
So let's make an assumption that the core business will continue to be relevant going forward.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see, for a while, automobiles will continue to be relevant going forward, and therefore the supply chain will also continue to be relevant going forward. And that there is a period when activity levels are lower, and there are all sorts of challenges to keep operations going. In any situation like this, uh, the best thing to do is to look at how can the health of the business be improved, how can costs be reduced, how can efficiencies be brought in, what can we revisit. In fact, sometimes, I think that for organizations like the railways and for the people who run the municipal bus system and so on, it's a fantastic opportunity to redo all their routes,
Mm-hmm.
because these routes have all developed over time incrementally. Somebody wanted a route here, they put it in. Somebody wanted another route there, they put it in. But they have information on where there is demand, where has new demand popped up, where should there be more services now. All that information is available. So you can completely rejig the whole thing.
Yeah.
Within a company, the story is the same. That if in the leisure that the lower levels of activity affords, not enjoyable leisure, but leisure nonetheless, one would it would be useful to sit back and say, hey, how can we make this business more streamlined, more efficient, assuming that this is what we will continue to do going forward.
Yeah. So one of the things you said actually was very interesting to me, because you spoke about the railways. So over the years, in my limited experience, I realized that every time there was a railway budget, the days when we had a railway budget, X number of new trains would be introduced, and the argument for doing so was railways actually bring development, within quotes, into that region.
They have a
Now,
social responsibility,
yes,
which incidentally would largely be centered around the constituency of the railway minister.
minister. Yeah, that's very true. So, so when you say that you can actually rejig the entire route, so my point is that if a railway line was laid in the late mid 80s, for example, or late 80s into a certain area, I think it's high time that development should have reached, if assuming that development was tied to the railway itself. Now, so if you rejig that now, you can probably reduce the costs of railways, operational costs, substantially. I mean, that's a
Definitely
real,
can.
yeah,
Definitely can. And
yeah,
if you look at frequency of services,
yeah,
capacity of service, and so on, um, somehow I think it's a lovely opportunity. I
yeah,
know we are only running 230 special trains
yeah,
right now. It's a great opportunity to relook at the timetable. There's no reason to go back to the old timetable again.
yeah.
Um, but that aside, if one were to come to the conversation on MSMEs, it's a good time to build efficiencies. It's
Hmm.
also a good time, just like a household thinks of small savings,
Yeah.
of putting aside a little bit of money for the rainy day. Typically in businesses, many businesses have not thought about it. Though I must say, in the Mahindra Group, we've had chief financial officers who would constantly tell us that our margin of safety must be 50% or more,
Oh,
which is that we must break even uh, at less than 50% of our revenues. So that way, if bad times were to hit us, we would have a large cushion to depend on.
Yeah.
And it is a lesson that many of our businesses have taken very seriously, which is why they are less uncomfortable, shall we say.
Yeah. So one question, which I've been thinking about from the time I saw your role in Mahindra's, and even before that, is sustainability. Where do you think MSMEs and sustainability sort of meet, or don't they ever meet?
So, let's talk about trivial things first.
Okay. Yeah.
The CEO of any organization, even of an MSME, typically doesn't look at his electricity bill.
Okay. Yeah, that's true.
Right? It has to be paid, so it gets paid.
Yeah.
He doesn't look up at the light and ask the question, hey, can I get the same light at half the cost?
Yeah.
Right? And this work in sustainability of bringing emissions down actually brings all this up. And within our businesses, we've discovered that we can reduce energy costs by anywhere up to 40% or more, okay, over a period of time. And because we hadn't thought of it before, we didn't know all the opportunities that existed. I must also say that more and more opportunities are becoming available in the system today. 10 years ago, they were not there. We didn't have these energy efficient devices available to us. Today, whether it's lights, whether it's cooling, whether it's motors, heat transfer mechanisms, conservation of energy mechanisms, software, there are loads of solutions available.
Yeah.
And so if a business is to, and the returns on them are very good. The payback period varies from as low as 6 months to 2 years. Okay, which means ROC is always in excess of 24%.
Yeah.
Even an MSME would love to do it.
Yeah.
Now, if you turn around and tell me, no, but the MSME doesn't have extra cash to invest, today in the ecosystem, there are partners who are willing to invest for you and get a payment back from the savings you make. So if you were spending 100 rupees, the investment gets made, you're now spending 50, you give them 25 out of that, keep 25 for yourself, and over a period of time, payback is investment, people are happy. So I really don't understand why MSMEs would not want to do this. Right? And this is something that that sustainability work throws up at you. I could tell you numbers from the Mahindra Group, but it may not be fair on the MSME because in scale, they are much smaller.
Yeah.
But irrespective of scale, if you look at it from a percentage perspective, it continues to be significant.
Yeah.
Another place where we find that we kind of throw value away every day is in the form of the waste we throw away. Again, no CEO looks at what waste is going out of the plant.
Yeah.
As long as it is disposed of using all compliance mechanisms in place, he's happy. But we've discovered that you don't have to throw all of it away. Our conscious program is called Zero Waste to Landfill. It actually got triggered after the Deonar landfill in Mumbai caught fire. And when reading about what is there in the landfill, we realized that 83% of what is there should not be there. It is either plain energy or completely recyclable. So now as a company, I don't know whether I'll be able to deal with the Deonar landfill and make a transformation. But we said, okay, what if we stopped making a contribution to any landfill in the country? And so the program started. The program continues because when you don't send the waste out, you figure out something else to do with it, and that creates value.
Yeah.
And every rupee that it brings into the business is appreciated. And I don't know why an MSME would not want to do that.
So, do you think it's about lack of understanding of how much of savings can come, or is it just that they don't care? I mean, or both of these? I don't know.
So I think first the possibility that there is gold lying, there is value lying in energy, there is value lying in waste. I don't think anybody's ever taught an entrepreneur that. So we mustn't hold it against him. As long as he is willing to listen, he or she is willing to listen, is great, because there are enough people in the world who are willing to help them in that journey. Now, you can lead a horse to water. Some of them will drink, right? So whoever drinks, no problem. Let's get started,
Yeah.
right? And then the story will grow, and more and more value can get created.
Yeah. So I'll probably ask you just one final question, because I've taken more than my allocated 20 minutes. Finally, Mr. Ghosh, so my problem is that, can MSMEs, now that they're not doing this, I mean, they're not getting into this, is there a way that this can be a pivot to which some of these chaps can move? I mean, can they work on sustainability with other MSMEs?
Of course, they can. In fact, there are a number of organizations that I work with to try and get MSMEs into the fold, so that they can, practice sustainability and save money. That they will also be having a positive effect on the environment. Let me take it as a bonus. Sustainability people will be happy, but you as a businessman, you will also be happy that you're making a positive contribution to the environment, but you will also be making a positive contribution to your own bottom line. And if the two together does not excite you, then I wonder why you are in business.
I agree with that. Well, that's very tough to explain.
So if any MSME wants to embark on the journey of sustainability, wants to leverage sustainability to do business better, we are happy to help. We know of people. There is the Institute for Sustainable Communities. There are wings of FICCI. There are wings of CII. All of us want to enable MSMEs to do well. We work very closely with our supplier partners, sharing with them all the technologies we use, the benefits we get, helping them understand what investments they make, what returns they can get out of it. Many of them adopt the programs that we do, but we are quite happy to take it to a much wider, broader ecosystem. In fact, there is a symposium on circular economy coming up in October, hosted by FICCI. We will be talking of lots of technologies in different industry sectors where you can actually create value from what you were throwing away. And if any MSME wants to participate in that symposium, is welcome. Just has to he can drop me a line, he can drop FICCI a line, and we'll be happy to enroll them into the symposium.
Oh, that will be terrific, actually, because like you said, I think we need to start from that point where we believe that information or lack of it is actually what's stopping them from taking this up. I mean, I can tell you my own example. For the last 10 years, I've been using solar panels. I've been saving a lot of power for myself. Bangalore doesn't have a system where the power can actually be pushed back into the grid. That's fine. Yeah, that's fine. At least I'm reducing my power bill. Yeah, so like you said, I'm using a lot of appliances where power consumption is less.
How old is your newest ceiling fan?
My newest ceiling fan is about, I think, 2 years old, 2.5 years old. That's about it.
Is it a DC fan or an AC fan?
I think it is an AC fan. I mean,
usually is. Yes. We've always used DC fans, except if you are as old as I am, you would have seen DC fans when you were a kid.
Okay.
But there is something called a brushless DC fan now. It can be used in exactly the place you're using your AC fan, and it consumes 30 to 40% less energy.
Oh.
All ceiling fans should be replaced.
Amazing.
So take a look. It's not something that existed 5 years ago. It's popular now. In our holiday resorts, we have changed 2,000 or 3,000 fans already. So I can tell you that the thing works. It actually saves money. The engineers are happy. The guests are happy. So I don't see why you will not be happy if you change fans.
Definitely, definitely.
And your money will come back to you between a year and a year and a half.
That's quick enough. I mean, a year and a half is nothing actually. I mean, in terms of ROI, if I can get, yeah. Thank you, Mr. Ghosh, for this. I think this was wonderful. Sustainability is something I think we leave as a legacy behind for the future generations. I think that is the least we can do. Like you said, I mean, there's been just too much of how do I put it, greed coming in the way of just sort of knock off trees, knock off everything. So let me build, let me do this, let me do that. So I think you said it right in the beginning. Maybe it was nature's way of saying halt. In Bombay, they say thamba, right? So, or like it's that speed breaker which goes gatirodak pude aahe. So you stop, yeah. So there is a gatirodak there, so you slow down and see what is happening. So thank you very much. This was amazing. I would definitely reach out to you when we get closer to the FICCI event, and I would definitely write to you. I don't know whether I'll be able to make it there because I'm in Bangalore. I'm assuming it will be.
It's virtual.
It's a virtual event. Oh, fantastic! Then I can be part of that.
Now, yes.
Yeah. So I'll definitely.
There'll be speakers from all around the world, but there will be people telling you things which are local, and there will be people telling you things which are best in class in the world.
Fantastic.
So you will have access to both.
Fantastic. I look forward to that. I'll definitely write to you much before that, and I would volunteer myself to be part of the event because. Sure. Thanks a lot. Thanks for sparing your time on a weekend, and I wish you well.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.